Did you know you can join an online meeting with all the attributes like chat, whiteboard, transcription, recordings, all simply by making a call through an app? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's say two users of our app wants to connect through a video call. One of user will simply add second user's caller ID and then they will tap on this call button and then second user will receive an incoming call notification. No matter what action second user choose, the user who initiated the call will notified about their action. Once they accept the meeting, a video call will be established using VideoSDK. I'm Sumit So, a developer advocate at VideoSDK.live. I will be guiding you through setting up this project with detailed explanation of each individual components. Now that you understood the basic flow of this app, let's get started with project setup so that we can understand all the intricate detailing. But first let me tell you what are the things that we are going to integrate while setting up this project. We will make use of Firebase for call trigger. Firebase provide real-time database where we can store all the information of users. We will make use of Firebase cloud messaging. You don't need to worry right now. We will understand it as we move through this video. And we are going to add configuration of Firebase admin SDK in our server code so that we can send those FCM notification to different users, right? This is what Firebase provide, and we are VideoSDK. We provide infrastructure for your meeting. We provide things like video calls, chats, transcriptions, recordings. You can integrate everything related to meeting with the help of VideoSDK. So first let's start with cloning this repository. To get started, let's copy this HTTP URL. Inside your computer, inside any folder you want, you can clone this repository by simply typing git clone, then this URL, and let's name it VideoSDK Android call trigger. Let's navigate to this folder. If you look at this repository, we got client app, server app. We will be running our client app inside Android Studio. Make sure you have its latest version installed. To do that, first let's open Android Studio. Now we can select client app from the disk, and then we will add VideoSDK Zod token, and we will add Firebase configuration to our client app. Alright, so let's select that project, Android. So this is our client app. Let's open it. That's all we need to do. Now let's start by adding VideoSDK token. For that, you can navigate to app.videosdk.live in API keys. Let's select an expiry for our token. Hit this next button. Now this step is important. This is the only time you will see your old token, so make sure to save it somewhere safe place. Obviously you can generate another authentication token. So we will be adding this old token inside our main application class. Here let's just add this authentication token. And next step is to set up Firebase. Here you can start with creating project, or you can choose an existing project. Let's give it a name, VideoSDK call trigger. To integrate Firebase inside our Android application, you can click this Android icon. We need to add Android package name. Basically we need to add our application ID. So in build.gradle file, let's just copy this application ID and let's paste it here. Once that's done, we are going to download this JSON file. Let's download this file. Simply copy this file and paste it here under this app directory. Next step is to add base URL of our server inside this client app. But first we need to add admin SDK to server also. To do that, first let's open our server. So we have client and server. So let's navigate to server. Let's open it in VS Code. First let's install all the dependencies that are required for our server application to work. If you look at server.js file, here we need to provide Firebase database URL and also part to the file that holds all the keys for Firebase admin SDK. To get that file and that URL inside your Firebase console, let's hit the next button. Our project is using Kotlin. We can continue to console. To add configuration for Firebase admin SDK, let's move to project settings here in service accounts. Let's first download that file, copy this file and add here in our server code, and let's reference this file. You can create a database so that we can add all the users. Just add it here and let's run our server. Server is running on port 9000. Also, we need to change some rules here. We want to read as well as write to this database. Let's publish the changes. The last step that remains is to add this space URL inside API client. In network, in API client, format for this would be something like this: HTTP protocol, then the IP for your network. Right now I am connected to this Wi-Fi, and then port number. We are done with all the steps. Now we can run our Android app. After following all these steps, you can run your Android app in an emulator. So you will find a triangular icon here. So I already have this application running in an emulator. So I opened these two emulators just to demonstrate how everything working together. First time when this app is launched in user's device, there will be changes that made to this database. You don't need to worry about that right now. I will discuss that in next segment. Let me discuss how things are working. Let's say these two user wants to connect through our meeting. So user 1 can simply add second user's caller ID, and then they can initiate a call. As you can see, second user received an incoming call notification. Now let's see how things are working in background. When user tap on our app icon, this main activity layout is visible to them, and very first thing it does is generate a unique caller ID. This caller ID act as a mobile number, right? Just to give you an analogy, so it act as a mobile number that I have, which I can share with someone else, or if I have someone else's mobile number, that I can dial it here and send a request to them. If they accept it, then we'll be part of a meeting. All right. If you look at the main activity class, it automatically generate 8-digit random number. Once that done, next step that happens instantly is the generation of FCM token. FCM stands for Firebase Cloud Messaging, which is responsible for push notification at different kind of devices. It could be mobile or web app, or it could be an IoT device, right? FCM token act as an address where notification will be sent. So our caller ID will be mapped with FCM token. Let's say someone else has my caller ID. With that caller ID, they can find my token and then they can send a call notification to me. So next thing that happen is generation of token, and this token is saved to Firebase database so that a user can easily find that token with the help of caller ID. And next, user subscribe to a general topic. You can analyze this topic like a mailing list. If you subscribe to a mailing list, then you start receiving latest updates. Along with FCM token, also a meeting ID is generated using VideoSDK. Once all these steps are done, you will see a pop-up here that you are subscribed successfully. So far what we have seen is when our app is launched on user's device, 8-digit caller ID is generated. Also FSM token is mapped with this caller ID. If you look at this database, this one is the first user and their token. This one is the second user and their FCM token. Let me copy second user's ID and let's give it a call from this number. But before I click this call button, let me tell you what is going to happen in background. When first user tap on this call button, what we're gonna do, based on this number, we will request for second user's device information. Basically, we are asking for their token. After Firebase returns device token, what we can do, we can send a post request to our server endpoint. So we already created this initiate call endpoint in our server, and from this request body, we can access caller information, VideoSDK information, which is having the meeting ID, right? And based on these information, we can construct a message, and once this message is constructed, we can send this message as a notification to second user using this admin. So this admin is instance of Firebase SDK. Firebase SDK is used to manage all the server side operations like authentication, managing user and databases, stuff like that. So here request is sent to the initiate call, a post request is sent to that endpoint. Once that request is processed, FCM notification is sent to second user's device. UI will be visible on second user's device. So this UI is visible with the help of telecom framework. Alright, so here I've got second user's caller ID, and let's click on this call button. As you can see, this UI is visible on second user's device, and when I accept this call, as you can see, now I'm part of this meeting. The last step that remains is to understand how this incoming call was managed. If callee answer this call, in that case, meeting view layout was visible. If they reject this call, they remains on the same main activity layout. Based on the kind of action they took, it is important to notify caller about callee's action, right? In order to notify them, in our server, this endpoint was created, so a post request will be based on what action they took. If they answer the call, then here the type from the request body, the type would be accepted, and if they reject it, the type would be rejected. With the help of FCM, we can again send notification to someone who initiated the call. Here, as you can see, if you look at this token, this is the token of caller, whoever initiated this call. Now let's look at this class, which is call connection service. It is just extending Android's connection service class, which is core component for managing both incoming and outgoing calls. In our case, it is managing this incoming call, and when this incoming call was answered, you will find this method on answer. When call was answered, immediately caller's information was extracted, and then a post request was made with type accepted, right? And if the call was rejected, a post request is made to update call endpoint, and here the type is rejected. This is how this meeting view layout was visible when callee opt to answer this call. Now that you have seen how easy it is to set up an online meeting via call trigger, if you face any sort of problem during project setup or in any implementation steps, do let us know. We are always here to help you. You can join our Discord community.